I'm 100% in on God. I believe the God of the Bible is real, without a shadow of a doubt. But recently, I found myself in a bizarre spiritual wilderness. I was church shopping for months. I spent every single weekend visiting a different church in my area. I love the church where I was baptized, but the average age of the congregation is about 75. And I desperately wanted to find a community of peers. And my breaking point came when I was chatting with a regular attendee, someone who was in the choir every single week. And she casually mentioned that she wasn't even sure she believed in God. And that threw me off. I don't need a perfect church, but I need a place that matches my intensity. And so I went on the hunt. I visited every single church within a 20-minute radius of my house, and nothing clicked. And I don't even know what I was looking for, but I knew that I would know what I wanted when I found it. And eventually, exhausted and discouraged, I gave up. I stopped going in person altogether. But God has a way of tugging on your sleeve when you try to walk away. Even though I had quit looking, I couldn't shake this persistent internal push to find a community. One Monday, I finally gave in and Googled Christian community near me. The very first result was a small Connect group meeting that same night. It belonged to a local church that I had checked out online before. I had avoided going there in person because my first time streaming their service happened to be right after the church had suffered a massive, heartbreaking tragedy, and I didn't think crashing a community's private season of grief was a good idea. But it had been a while since then, and it was the first search result on my screen. I figured, why not, you know? What's the worst that could happen, other than me just crying the whole time? Which, let's be honest, is kind of my brand now. I pulled up to the first meeting, walked inside, and was immediately greeted by one of the campus pastors. He smiled and asked, "Hi, have you attended church before?" Trying to be direct and quick, I said, "Yes, once," which was technically true. I had attended virtually from my couch. But then we broke out into smaller groups, and I found myself sitting one-on-one with a girl my age, and she was incredibly nice. But she immediately asked, "Oh, you've been here before? How was your experience the first time?" And suddenly, my brain short-circuited. What was I supposed to say? Oh, it was great. It was right after that horrible tragedy occurred, and everyone was weeping on screen. So instead, my blunt, unfiltered mouth took over, and I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Oh, I actually lied. I've never been here before." Can you imagine what was going through her head? Great, nice to meet you too. First day here, and you're already confessing sins in the lobby. But she didn't run away. She just let it roll right off her shoulders, laughed, and we started chatting. And by chatting, I mean my emotional floodgates flew open, and within minutes I started crying, and then I proceeded to sit there and weep in front of this total stranger for an hour straight. It was a masterclass in making a terrible first impression. But the crazy thing, when I went to the actual church service the following Sunday, the search was over. I sat in the rows and realized this is it. This is what I was looking for. And looking at it now, it kind of makes perfect sense. Of course, the place I finally felt at home would be the place where I accidentally lied to a stranger and then cried for 60 minutes straight. I spent months trying to present the polished, perfect version of myself to new churches, hoping to fit in. But God waited until I completely ran out of energy, blurted out an awkward truth, and let my messy reality show. He didn't need me to find a perfect, pristine community. He wanted me in a place where I could be 100% real, 100% in, and fully known. Tears, bad first impressions, and all.